the esteemed dignitaries on the dais, members of the society, President K. Satyanarayan Garu, Vice President P. Subbarao Garu and the other members, and my friend, the chairman of the school and the secretary of the society, Murli Mukund. I am sufficiently intimidated by now. Fortunately or unfortunately, I have circulated that 150th anniversary magazine, and I was intimidated by the UKG girls there. Wonderful speeches of theirs. I should first start with a big thanks for the warm welcome that was extended to me and the very generous words that were used by the introductory person who introduced me to you, and the enchanting welcoming address by the compeers, three compeers, wonderful compeers, student compeers. I thank you very much. This evening really gives me an immense pride and also pleasure because I am given the privilege to speak in a school where one of my very long-standing and very best friends is a chairman. As he said, we have grown together, we have grown seeing each other, enjoy all the pleasures of life. We have grown seeing each other, fulfilling the responsibilities that were thrown on us by the life. We have seen each other facing the difficulties that befell us and ultimately seeing each other emerging successfully. By success, by using the word success, I don't mean the success of him as a chairman of Jubilee Hills Public School or my success in being a judge. The success which I speak of is the stamina that we acquired by facing the difficulties and the confidence we acquired to face any difficulty coming in life. Before starting my addressing the gathering really, I just want to make myself alert about what the greatest of the speakers have said about addressing a gathering in a school. They said that the most critical audience is children. If you can interest and hold the audience of children, you will be able to interest and hold the interest of any audience in anywhere. But today I have even more critical audience, comprised not only of children who are very eager to exhibit their skills, but also of parents who are more eager to see the skills of their children being exhibited, and even more eager people, the teachers, who are very anxiously waiting to see the execution of their efforts and the display of skills of the children here. So with all this awareness, if I fail to hold your interest, it's because I'm no more a great speaker than the greatest speakers who failed in such difficult times. And I assure you that I'm going to be very, very short. I'm not a long speaker, and I'll try to be more short. I would like to only share my views on one or two issues which are a matter of concern for all of us. When Murli invited me to be a guest here, I accepted the invitation with the usual readiness with which I accept the invitations of any school. Maybe because I would like to be reminded that every human being is born as pure and as innocent as any of the children here. I see many children coming before me every day, but not with the same purity of mind and not with the same innocence in their faces. They come there after being transformed into criminals. That's how I'm here to remind myself that those criminals are also born as pure and as innocent as any one of the child here, then what is it that is transforming such a pure and innocent child into a criminal? I always question myself, do I have a role to play in this transformation? And the painful answer is yes, I have. For that matter, all of us have. When we come out of our homes every day, it's a regular experience that we come across neglected children on streets. Do we get shocked? When I put this question to myself, the answer is not very much. And we see several crimes happening around us. Even when we are at our house, we see the crimes happening. We watch our TVs, we see in the newspapers. And do we get shocked? Yes, we get very much shocked. We bang our bosoms and say, what's happening in the society? What is this crime? How can this boy rob a 10 rupees from that other person? Do we have a right to get shocked? The responsibility that I hold in the transformation of an innocent child into a criminal is the difference in the degree of reaction that I get when I see a child on the street and the degree of shock that I get when I look at a criminal. It's our responsibility to react to the neglected children on the streets. Do we expect that that neglected child is going to become a Mahatma? Don't we know, don't we have that little awareness that this is the child who is going to become a criminal, not a Mahatma or any great person? Then why do we get shocked when that child who is neglected by us grows up into a criminal and comes before us? This insensitivity is making ourselves vulnerable to all the crimes happening. So there lies our responsibility to rise up and to become more sensitive to such things. As I said, the neglected children is going to be a threat to the society. And now we see not only the neglected children, but very much taken care of children are also turning into criminals. What's happening? I would like to remind you of the words of Sri Rajagopalachari, who made introductory remarks for the Adi Shankaracharya's Bhajagovindam. He very rightly pointed out the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Any criminal coming before my court, he doesn't say that he has killed a person, he has committed an offense, and he is right in doing that. Even a criminal comes and says, I have not done this crime, because he is aware that doing crime is not good. Any criminal doesn't say that doing crime is good. So he has that awareness that crime is bad, but he doesn't have the wisdom not to do and refrain himself from doing that crime. So there lies the difference. In schools, we are imparting knowledge, and several schools are failing in transforming that knowledge into wisdom. As Rajagopalachari said, the intelligence, which I substitute with the word knowledge, when it gets lodged in the mind securely, that gets transformed into wisdom. The difference between a criminal committing a crime and trying to defend himself is an implication of his having knowledge that crime is not good, and the refrainment exercised by that particular individual is the wisdom that crime is bad. Apart from all the requests that Abraham Lincoln has made to the teacher of his son, I would like to emphasize on one request that was made. He asked the teacher of his son to tell his son to sell his brain and brawn to the highest bidder, but ask him not to put a tag on his heart and soul. I would emphasize and request all the teachers here to make note of it. As I already said, you are just preaching to the children not to put their heart and soul to sale is not going to be the end of it. If that has to be transformed into the wisdom, you should give them an opportunity to learn from you, and for learning it, you have to be the role models. And before I conclude, I would say that you have a wonderful role model before you. As I said, Murali, in all my 30 years of acquaintance with him, more than 30 years, I have never seen him or never heard him say that he is busy. So that's how a busy person finds time to do anything. So that's one quality which you can imitate and start imitating from now onwards. I would request the teachers to put for imitation all such qualities before the children, so that the knowledge that you impart would end up with wisdom. Thank you. Thank you once again for giving me this wonderful opportunity of being here in this wonderful evening. Thank you.